Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. This is James. So today I'm going to be balancing a few propellers that I'm going to be using on an OS Max 25 FP engine. That's actually for the Barnstormer kit I just recently finished. And I bought some couple new propellers from Master Airscrew, and I need to balance them. So I thought I'd share that today with you. Okay, so I'm just going to go over how I do a prop balance. Now, the method that I use isn't anything that I invented. It's the way I learned to do it. Doing probably the same thing that you're doing right now, is basically looking things up on the internet or reading up on them or something like that. So I'm just going to share how I do it, and let's get started. Okay, so first I have a couple of tools. This is a prop reamer. This is a Great Plains prop reamer, and this is used to basically drill out the hole in the propeller so that it fits the shaft on the airplane engine. I think that this size prop actually fits the engine already, so I don't really have to ream it, but I'll check these to make sure. Now you could do the same thing. You can ream out the hole just using a drill bit, but this tool from Great Plains is actually pretty cool because it allows you to really line up nicely on the hole itself, and then you can just carefully ream it out. Probably the problem doing it with like a drill, like a power drill or something like that, is that you take a chance of like screwing up the alignment, and it's maybe just too much power for something like this. So this reamer, this prop reamer has a little shaft that goes through this hole right here, and then obviously you can turn this kind of gently, and you have a lot of control to do it that way. That's a really good way to go ahead and ream out the propeller if you need to do that. Okay, now the other device I have is this is a Dubro, I think it's called an Easy Balancer, and obviously this is from Dubro, and this is a prop balancer, and it has a couple different ways to set it up, and it's really cool because it has it's just basically built to have very little friction in it, and you put your propeller on here and you can spin it like this, and you can see that it has very little friction. So this is really good for setting up the propeller and checking the balance. Now there are other people or other companies make prop balancers. I think Dubro is probably the most popular one. I've seen a few other ones out there. I don't know too much about them. And you can also check online. Some people have made their own prop balancers. It's probably not that difficult to do, but this is pretty easy to use. So I picked one of these up, and I've been pretty happy with it. So there are sort of two steps to balancing a prop. The first step is to balance the blades themselves. And then the second step is to balance the hub. And I think what you'll see if you start looking at how-to videos on this, you'll find out that probably most people just do the blades, and you'll see less information on balancing the hub. Probably the biggest reason for that is that it's very difficult to balance off the hub because it's just such a small area. You don't have a lot of material that you can add or remove to this. So I think probably the mainstream sort of way to balance a prop is probably just to do the blades and not really worry about the hub itself. Okay, so there are several techniques to balancing a prop. The one I use is I like to take sandpaper, and I like to try to remove material off the back of the heavier blade. Other techniques include adding material to the lighter side, to the lighter blade. So if this blade was lighter, some people will use like a spray can, like a spray paint. I mean, maybe a clear paint or something that's basically has to be like fuel proof, but they'll use spray paint, and that'll kind of add weight to the lighter side, and that's a good way. The other way that I've seen people do it is to add tape, like Scotch tape or electrical tape, to the lighter blade. I'm not fond of doing that. I've never done that. I think that if you put tape on it, that kind of thing could probably just wear out over time, and I don't think that would be the most dependable way to do it. So anyhow, the method I'm going to use is going to be basically how the instructions for the Dubro balancing tool is basically to remove material using sandpaper. All right, so let's go ahead and get this set up. So the Dubro guy, this one has this kind of stainless steel wire shaft here, and it has these little conical retainers that go on like this. and then there's a spring that goes on here, a little washer that goes on here, and then there's just sort of like this tubing, fuel tubing that you squeeze on here, and that'll hold it in place. And that spring kind of keeps it nice and firm, and that should be good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check it to make sure it's seated properly. And let's go ahead and put it on our balancing tool here. Okay, so let's put this on here and see how it performs. So I'm going to go ahead and put it horizontal like this and let it go. Now what you see obviously is that that blade is heavier, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and remove material off the back of this. Now a good place for me to start for something like this prop is it's got this paint on here. So I'll probably take some of this off. Now the key thing about doing when you're removing material off of the blade like this is I don't want to alter the airfoil, if you will, of the propeller itself. So I want to be very careful and make sure that I don't take too much off. And I also want to try to take it off along the entire blade if I can, just to sort of distribute how much of the material I remove. I don't want to go crazy with this. And in fact, if I can't get it to balance and I keep taking material off and off and off, I probably will just discard this prop and not use it. So let's go ahead and start with our sandpaper, and we'll see if we can get it to balance. Okay, so this is about a 200 grit piece of sandpaper. It's rolled up. So I'm going to take my heavier blade, which is this one here, and I'm just going to go ahead and remove. I'm going to start by just taking off this yellow paint back here. I'll just work it around. I'll be kind of careful. Let's try it again now. Let's put it back on here and see what happens. All right, so it's still going, and I'm going to have to take some more off. Try it again. Okay. So I'm going to still take some more off. And this is all I'm going to do now. I'm just going to sort of work this until I get it to carefully take it off. I'm going to keep working with it. And what you'll find out is as you do this, it'll start to drop slower and slower. Instead of it swinging down really quick, it'll just sort of like glide down. See how it's ooh, look at that. Looks like we got it, that one. Let me clean this off again, make sure we got it nice and clean. Oops. Okay, that's really cool. All right, so that looks like it's balanced. I'll play with it, make sure it does. Okay, so at this point right here, the blades are balanced. And you can tell, I mean, I didn't take off very much material to get that to happen. It was pretty easy. So now the next step is to go ahead and see how the hub is balanced. Okay, so now to check the balance of the hub, we put the propeller vertical like this. Oops, like this, and we see if it drops, and it didn't drop. That's really cool. So let me put it on this side and just check this really quick, see if it drops. Yeah, it's kind of barely coming over. There it goes. Okay. So what that's doing is it's showing you, let me see if I can move this around. The idea is if you can get it to go in any position where it doesn't move, then the prop is perfectly balanced. Like this is pretty close. Really, for practical purposes, this prop is balanced fine right now. I wouldn't worry too much about it. This is really good right now. Okay, so one thing you want to keep in mind is when you're doing prop balancing with a tool like this, is you want to make sure there's no air currents in your room. You don't want to have any fans on, a ceiling fan or any kind of fans or vents going on. And even your own breath can sometimes, if you're talking like I am, you can actually get the prop to move. But this propeller looks like it's pretty well balanced. I'm going to go ahead and put it up here again and check it, see what it does. Yeah, I mean, the idea is if you can get it to kind of stay in one position, in any position like this, that's the balanced prop right there. Okay, so let's remove this one. The wood one looks like it's pretty good. think the wood props are a little bit easier to balance because it's easy to take the material off with sandpaper. The nylon ones are a little bit more difficult. Let's pull out the nylon one. That's this guy here. All right, so here's our 9/6 Master Airscrew. Okay, let's go ahead and set it up like we did the other one. All right, we'll make sure it's seated in here. Let's put it on. Let's see what it does. Let's let go. Okay, well this one looks like it's perfectly balanced right out of the package. Let's see what it goes here. At least the blades that are. All right, so let's go ahead and check the hub. So we'll put it vertical and we'll see what it does. All right, so you're seeing that it's turning in that direction, right? Now if I put it up like this on this side, let's see where it goes. Turns back down this direction. So what this is telling me is that this portion of the hub is heavier. Because what's happening is when you put it vertical, now the hub, like we had the blades, when we had the blades horizontal like this, now we're kind of doing the same thing with the hub. We're taking the blades out of the picture by making them vertical, and now we're checking how if the hub is balanced. And if I let go of it, oops, I want to be a little bit more gentle. If I let go of it, it's going to swing down, and the hub is going to bottom out. The heavier side of the hub is going to bottom out. So now, like the blades, we can remove a little bit of the hub, just a very little bit amount, or we can add material to it. So this hub has like little, it's basically the way it was molded. It has some open space inside here, so we can fill that with a little bit of weight. Okay, so now for hub balancing, it's a little more tricky because you don't have very much to work with, and I don't think I would recommend taking too much off. Now you can try to shave a little bit of the heavier side off, maybe on the front of the hub, like on the front. I wouldn't shave any off the back because that's where it's going to seat up against the engine. But you can try trimming off a little bit up here, maybe do a little bit of sanding, but I wouldn't take too much off. And then the alternative method, or the additional method, would be to sort of try to fill in. There's little gaps behind here. We'll take a look at those. We'll fill those in with something and see if we can make it heavier on the lighter side. So let me see what I can do here. If I put this on here again, my hub is going to be heavier. All right, on that side down there. So this side's heavier. So I'm going to go ahead and remove a little bit of this with my X-Acto blade. I'm going to try to peel off, trim off a little bit of it on here. Just sort of like taking the corner off, if you will. Again, I wouldn't go too crazy with this. If you can't get the prop hub to balance, don't take off a whole bunch of material. You can just take a little bit off and see if that helps. But if you can't get it to balance, I wouldn't worry about it. You don't want to take off too much material off of the hub because that's kind of where obviously the blades are connecting and everything. So you don't want to weaken the hub. So, all right, so yeah, so this is, I can try taking a little bit more off. That, I'm just shaving just a little bit off of there. Let's see what it does. Yeah, so it's still pulling down. All right, so there's one additional thing I can do to try to get the hub to balance, and that is going to put some material in here. All right, so when I pull the propeller off, at least on the Master Airscrew, there are actually some little molding gaps inside here, little openings, open space in here. So I'm going to fill that in. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to fill it in with baking soda or baking powder, one of the two, which I have right here. I'm going to fill it in with this is baking soda with a little bit of CA, and that's just going to add some weight inside there, and that'll add a little bit of weight to this side of the hub. That may help us out a little bit, but we'll see how it works. All right, so I'm going to try to fill this side up with a little bit of CA. I mean, a little bit of CA and baking powder. I'm just going to go ahead and kind of pour it in here. Blade. Oops. Actually, I'm just going to use my fingers, I think. I'm going to pour it in this side. Like that. So you can see in here I've got a little bit of CA. I mean, I have a little bit of baking soda inside here. I'm going to take my CA glue, try to pour it in here. If I have any left, there it goes. And that will set up inside there. Okay, so I filled in those gaps with some CA glue, using baking soda as sort of a filler to add additional weight on the light side of the hub. So let's see if that helped us at all with this. Let's see what it does. Okay. All right, so the blades are still balanced fine. It's just that that hub is a little bit heavier on that side. And that's why it's pulling it down in that direction. It's not too bad. If I go like this, it tends to pull it down that way. So I'm going to put a little bit more in to see if that helps. See how I filled that in like this? I don't want too much on this side because I want it to all right, let's see how it worked. Put this on here. Okay, so now the prop is not moving and I can move it like this. Wow, okay. So because it's not moving anywhere, that means that prop right there is actually perfectly balanced. Okay, so a quick little summary. So for the wood prop, this came out of the package and this blade was heavier. So I sanded that blade off in the back of it, and I went to go balance it. It turned out to be balanced pretty well, and I didn't have to worry about the hub. So that was cool for that one. This one was sort of the opposite. It came out of the package and the blades themselves were in balance, but the hub was off. So what I did is I removed a little bit of material, just a very little bit, oops, on the hub itself. I don't like taking too much off, just take a little bit. And then I added, if you look back inside here, I added, because the Master Airscrew are actually made with these moldings like this, there's actually space in there. So I filled that full of CA glue with baking soda, and that added that additional weight. So that ended up balancing the hub. Okay, so these props are ready to be mounted on my airplane, and again, so that's how I balance my props. I do it by removing the material and adding material like in the hub area. Now if I was going to if I needed to add material to this, you can do the same thing. You can add a little bit of CA on the hub over here with baking soda on the outside, and that should stick okay. So you can try doing that. All right, so I just put my my newly balanced prop on my engine, and I may take it out tomorrow for a flight and see how it works. Again, this is the 9.6. I had a 10.5 on here and it didn't work, or maybe a 10.6, and it was just maybe too much for this engine. But so anyhow, I hope you enjoyed my little demo of prop balancing. And thanks for watching my channel, and we'll see you next time.